Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on the companies we mention. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to Monday Upbeat Markets with me, Graeme Dickson.
And me, Kevin Hornsby.
Kevin, long time no see. Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you.
How's it all going?
It's going wonderful. The markets are flying. We should all be very happy. All the plays that we're talking about, especially in the resource sectors, are doing very well. So all very, very good. I'm very optimistic about 2026 from the positions that we're in. I think there's going to be some disasters in the world, but we'll talk about those later. How did your New Year go? Christmas?
Wonderful. Fantastic start to 2026, and hopefully, if we continue in this vein, we'll all be extremely happy by the end of 2026. Certainly, making up for lost time.
Yeah, we're going into a monetary shakedown, if you like. I mean, I think what's happening is that the world is changing. The US dollar is losing its status for sure. They're going to basically inflate away the value of their debt. That is beyond doubt, as far as I can see. You've got today coming out that Powell's being threatened to reduce the interest rates, or he's going to get himself into trouble, which is absolutely just bizarre, isn't it? Really, I mean. Federal Reserve supposedly independent, and Trump's basically saying, "I'll throw you in jail if you don't do what I say." So inevitably, interest rates are going to fall in America. There is still inflation in America, and it's growing fast. We're going to have stagflation. Why do you see silver hitting 84, gold's hit 46, copper's hit 13,200, and those metals in effect are going up, but they're not going up just because of that. They're going up because the actual US dollar is falling in real terms, even though in the numbers game it isn't the case. I mean, we've still got the COMEX, the silver market in the US. It's fantasy island stuff. It's gone up to $84 now, but I ran my broker to buy silver today, and it's $91.50 now in Egypt. Yesterday it was $87, so it's already gone up $4. So we've still got this arbitrage of $7 or $8 from the fantasy market, which is COMEX non-delivery. The problem is that I believe China, India, and whoever else are buying on the COMEX and are going to ask for delivery in March, and we're going to have an absolute tsunami of stuff that needs to be delivered in March. They're not going to be able to do it. What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
So it's going to be one of the.
Well, they force the price up, and that incentivizes people to sell. I mean, that's the only way it can happen.
Well, it is the only way, but that's still only going to be people who are effectively investors. The problem is the silver's being taken and used. It's not like somebody's got a big vault of silver. It's being used in solar panels, in AI computing, in whatever different thing that you need a superconductivity, because silver is the best conductor in the world. Now, they're all talking, you could replace it with copper, you could replace it with copper. Copper's going to go up as well because of that. And also, that's going to take several years. It's not going to happen overnight. That's for sure. So my view is that we are in a metal supercycle, and definitely the precious metals are going to be going to the moon as far as I can see. I don't see how we're not going to see $150 plus silver in the next year. I just don't see how it's not going to happen, because there just isn't enough of it. There's one phrase that one of the podcasts I keep listening to keeps coming up with, and it's unobtainium. Silver and even gold to an extent, and certainly platinum as well, are going to become unobtainium. You're not going to be able to get them. They're not going to be there.
Unobtainium, is that the word?
Unobtainium. It's a made up word, obviously, but okay. So and what I think when it becomes unobtainium is we're going to have some follow through then into cryptocurrencies as well, whether that be Bitcoin is going to be the main winner, I think, and then you've got Tau, which I think is going to be sort of the developers AI version of Bitcoin. So the question I pose you, Graeme, is if you had the opportunity again in life to invest in Bitcoin at $300 a coin, would you take it?
Well, of course I would take it. Of course I would.
Okay, so you need to get some exposure to Tau then, because Tau is built exactly the same as Bitcoin, only going to be for developers and for businesses. People need to start understanding it now. If they understand it now, I think this could make people millions.
And the way to get exposure is through Astrid.
Through Astrid, it's on Aquas, and also the other way to get exposure would be Tiger Alpha, but they're not really involved in it yet, though they have 2 subnets. Astrid would be my recommendation at this moment in time. Get involved with Astrid, even if you only have a small part of it. If this does what I believe it's going to do, it could be phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard it from several sources about this Tau. Well, thank you very much for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to the podcast, the Sunday Roast yesterday, I'll plug it again. Listen to it, because there's a whole podcast with the guys from Astrid on it, and it was a real eye-opener even for me interviewing them in terms of what they're doing. Not just about the Tau, but buying the ability to sell the picks and shovels that are going to be required in that system. And I think it's going to go up even if Tau doesn't go up, because of the way that they've set it up. But anyway, let's go back to precious metals. And I think we have a great guest for you to introduce to talk about those things as well.
We do. So hello and welcome, Ippolito Castaneda from AJAX Resources. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning, Graeme and Kevin. Thank you for having me.
So I see you've announced today your project up in the northwest province of Argentina. Tell us more. What's going on there?
So this morning we announced the start of drilling, which is quite a momentous event in the history of the Eureka project, because it has a 400-year history of production, of copper and gold production, and has never been drilled in its history. So it has a number of studies which have been conducted in respect of this project. So we have big companies, Codelco, Minera Panonis, they've all looked at this project, owned it, or optioned it for a certain period of time. They did studies. Minera Panonis did one study which assessed up to 62 million tons of copper at 1%, so that's just over 600,000 tons of copper, and 52,000 ounces of gold is what Mantos Blanco, which was a Anglo-American subsidiary, assessed back in the day when they had this project under option, but they never drilled it, which then Bezant acquired the project in 2010 for just under $8 million. And again, never drilled it for a series of reasons. The board that acquired it was not the board that sold the project to us 15 years later in May of 2025. And we acquired it for $170,000, so a fraction of what the original purchase price was. And during those 15 years, copper and gold prices have only increased substantially. So somewhat of an opportunistic acquisition, you might say. So we're now drilling it. The goal of this drilling is to test the project, test this exploration upside that has long been kind of indicated but not confirmed. And so we're doing 1,500 meters of drilling across 10 drill holes. By the end of March, we'll come back to the market and share the preliminary results. And if they're good, which we hope they will be, and we have every reason to believe they will be very good, then we should see a significant value creation for our shareholders.
You obviously had a non-JORC compliance resource of 52,000 ounces of gold, right? A resource, right? Not indicative or measured.
No, not a JORC compliant resource, but it was still something to, that it provides geological context. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and by the end of March, do you think you'll have a when do you think you'll have a JORC compliant resource?
Yeah, so the goal is to publish a mineral resource estimate in accordance with JORC. The guidance we've given the market is that we will publish this estimate on or before the 6 months of this year, so the first half of 2026. Of course, there's permitting. There's all sorts of bureaucratic steps that we need to follow in our new home, Argentina, Jujuy province, which I know is close to your heart and is very close to ours in this phase of our company's evolution. And so we will do our utmost to have the MRE published by the timeline we've indicated. And of course, if the drill results are good in the first 1,500 meters, which won't be the definitive evidence of the scale of the project, because we're looking to drill and we're fully funded to drill up to 5,500 meters, then we will then conduct further drilling in the rest of the year. It's important to note that Eureka was our first acquisition that we completed and took us. We were formerly a cash shell on the main market of the LSE. We came off the main market upon ceasing to be a shell. We moved to Aquis, which Aquis traditionally has not been the most loved market for entirely the wrong reasons, because we now are on Aquis, and so we are huge fans of Aquis, and our journey has been exceptional. I would say we've proven the pessimists on Aquis wrong, because we have exceptional liquidity, and in fact today probably will be one of the most momentous days in terms of our liquidity, because we were seeing record trading. And but since acquiring the Eureka project, we completed a number of other deals. So we signed, one of the most interesting deals we signed was an agreement with Appian Capital Advisory, which, as you will know well, is the private equity group with roughly $5 billion funds under management. And we acquired a project from them called the Pereira Velho gold project in Brazil, in Alagoas State. This has, again, a non-JORC compliant in-house estimate of roughly 110,000 ounces of gold, which would previously be not so exciting, but in the current gold environment is very exciting. And the reason why I like that project is that it's located 20 kilometers away from the Sorote mine, which is a very similar project to Pereira Velho roughly 8 to 10 years ago, and has just been sold. It was acquired by Appian for $30 million in 2018. And has just been sold last year for $420 million to a Chinese group. So that kind of scale of value creation is indicative of what we want to achieve. We, as part of the deal, Appian will become a very significant shareholder in AJAX, holding roughly about 5% of our share capital. So it's very good to have them on our share register. And they not only have they sold us a project, but they've believed in our strategy, which is similar to theirs, albeit on a much smaller scale, which is to acquire projects which, for whatever reason, haven't been developed to their full potential and need new investment, new focus, and a very driven team to take them to production. We've also signed another deal called the Leon project, which is a project you may have come across previously. It was operated by a company called Alexander Mining PLC, that were, during the AIM heyday in the sort of 2005 to 2010 period, had raised roughly 20 million plus pounds on the AIM market. Most of that money went into the Leon project. They defined a resource of 6.6 million tons at 0.6% copper, which was underwhelming because they felt that their project had much more, but in the current context is still very significant. It's a copper silver deposit. And our idea, our goal will be to increase that resource to probably the first logical milestone would be 10 million tons of copper. I don't think the grade will change much, and then take it within 3 years.
Ippolito, if you have 10 million tons of copper, then we're all going to buy our own island. You mean 10 million tons of ore?
Yeah, correct. Well, I mean, what's in the study? Yeah, correct.
So based on the information that has been released in your RNSs and just doing a bit of background, metal in the ground that AJAX has is $13.5 billion, and actually that's probably more than that now, because we've got silver at 84 an ounce, gold at 4.6, copper 13.2, and all of those have increased from when you've done it. Now, obviously, the majority of that is at Eureka. So tell us, what is going to happen with Eureka after this drilling program? What do you plan to do? Is AJAX going to become a producer, or are you likely to have a JV on such a big project, or you can see yourself selling the project?
So to answer your question, the biggest red flag with junior companies is when they fall in love with projects and they don't do what is in the best interest of their company and their shareholders. So I think the best and most prudent course of action is to firstly understand what the resource is, right? And the MRE will give us a clear idea of what that resource will be. It won't give us the full details because there'll be more drilling to do to further define it, but it will give us a good indication of what kind of scale we're talking about and whether these historical numbers, which are extremely material, whether they have concrete basis. So I think the answer to your question is let's get these 5,500 meters done and then come back to the market with our results in a very transparent and clear manner. The goal is to get to production. I think the Eureka project can be a near-term open pit copper and gold production story. So that is the long-term or mid-term plan, because we could be producing within 2 to 3 years. But that is the goal, and the methodology we have is to acquire projects on very advantageous terms, which are near production or have had quite a lot of historic work performed, which we, as a company with about 6 or 7 million market cap, we wouldn't be able to absorb those kind, or to commit those kind of 20 million plus numbers or $30 million as some of the other projects we acquired. That's not money that we have at this time. So we're taking advantage of all the historical work and using that to perhaps do the final stretch of the marathon to then get the win the gold medal. So that is the strategy we have, and there is the drill or kill mentality is to a very watered down degree part of our strategy. If a project doesn't work, which statistically can happen, then we have a number of projects which all are to varying degrees highly promising, exceptionally promising, or good projects. So we feel that we will do whatever is in the best interest of the company and its shareholders.
Okay, so that's good news. So we have Eureka in Argentina. We have Recaita in Argentina as well. Are those two projects close? Is there anything else in Argentina as well?
So those projects are in the same province, in Jujuy province. It's our first home in Argentina. We have a very good relation with the local authorities, who've been very supportive and very encouraging of our establishment in the province. Jujuy is mainly a lithium province, so as you can imagine right now, they're very keen to have other metals being developed. There's only one copper producer in Jujuy, which happens to be the only copper producer in the whole of Argentina, and it's a small scale copper mine. So we would like to be the second and potentially be larger in size, and I think our resource would perhaps enable us to definitely be the number one in the province, and by extension the second producer of copper in Argentina. So that is the plan. Recaita is much more of an early stage prospect, which again was part of the Alexander mining portfolio back in 2005 to 2010. So the idea is to drill test that project and then define an MRE, but it won't be in production as soon as we think Eureka might be, but it could be a very significant exploration and discovery target, which is part of, we have a binary strategy. One is the focus on production, but then there's the excitement and the upside of the discovery, which is a junior listed company is always part of the narrative. The psychology of investment is producing, and I think a lot of investors don't want the excitement. They want the excitement of discovery, but they also don't want the inevitable disappointment of exploration companies, because statistically exploration companies almost always fail. That is the very sad statistic. And then you have a few exceptional cases where they succeed, and so people forget all the other disappointments they've had in investing. But the binary strategy we have is to have a production story, and then have the also give the dreamers and those who believe in the discovery narrative the potential to also deliver that kind of news flow. So we want to be as measured as possible.
Yeah. So going back to Eureka, what type of facility is Eureka? Are we talking about a porphyry? Are we talking about VMSs? What is it that is at Eureka?
Eureka is a copper oxide project, so it's got two main targets. One is the near surface copper oxide, which is roughly 20 meters deep, 20 to 30 meters deep, so near surface. And then we've got a copper sulfide formation, which is a copper sulfide mineralization, which is deeper, probably 200 to 300 meters down. And that's never been tested, and that's never been part of any of the historical studies, non-JORC compliant studies that we've cited previously. So our strategy now in terms of drilling will be to confirm the very exciting numbers that have been associated with the copper oxide formation, and then test for the first time, because the project has never been drilled in its 400-year history, test the sulfides, which are quite similar. There's a geological continuity between Eureka and Leon, despite them being in two different provinces and quite far apart, but 6-7 hours drive apart, but in geological terms that's nothing. And so Leon also, for example, has the same situation, because the 6.6 million tons have been defined at the oxide level, but the sulfide level has never been drill tested, and there's no resource estimation for that. So when we start developing Leon, we're currently going through DD, but we're very sort of generally quite positive of our findings to date, and we'll now complete that DD and complete the deal. When that happens, when we take control of the project, when our option is formalized, we will then engage in a drill program which will look at all the historical work and then test that sulfide formation.
So Leon is in Argentina as well, or it's over the border?
Leon is in Argentina as well. It's in a nearby province, which is Salta province, which is a couple of hours drive from the capital of Jujuy, and is a very pro-mining province. In fact, the company that owns the Leon project is also in their kind of sphere of interest. They also own a drilling company, which happens to be the drilling company that we're using to drill Eureka. So the idea here is that we have a strategic partnership which will formalize in the coming months, and share details of that with the market. But we have an owner who owns a drilling company, so that will enable us to drill more and spend less, and also have a highly incentivized partner, because of course he wants us to succeed. The more if we're able to increase the tonnage of the resource, then that is only a win-win for all parties. So that is we're very confident about Leon and Eureka as well. We're drilling it now, so we'll see where that goes. But we're very confident. We're very happy to be the first company to drill the project.
So Paguanta is where? Which country is Paguanta?
Paguanta is in Chile.
Okay, so we have 3 projects. Currently, we have 3 projects in Argentina, 1 in Brazil, and 1 in Chile. Now, what I wanted to come on to is, based on all of these resources, because I'm a big silver bull at the minute, we've got over 40 million ounces potentially of silver. Now, if you were to take the normal criteria of valuing those, if they were JORCed, which I understand the Argentinian asset in Rakita is not, you have over 40 million ounces, $1 an ounce. That would give you a market capitalization of £40 million just on those alone. Now, obviously, that's highbrow and high level stuff, and obviously, if you got it out the ground, the margin's much greater and much bigger. But how do you see the play? Because you've got copper, you've got gold, you've got silver, and ultimately, certainly at Rakita, you've got lead and zinc that will be coming out of the ground basically meaning that the silver would come out of the ground for free almost, because you're going to have $6,000 a ton for lead and zinc in terms of what comes out when you're bringing it all out. So is there a particular commodity that you perceive that this company is after?
So we're big copper fans. Eureka is a copper project. We're big on gold. The project we haven't talked about much, but Pereira Velo is the project we're acquiring from Appian. That project is a near-term open pit gold solely gold production story, exactly like the Sorote mine, which is more actually a copper and gold story, but the Pereira Velo is just a gold story. So we've got the copper excitement at Eureka, we've got the gold at Pereira Velo in Brazil, we've got the copper and silver at Leon, and then as you mentioned in Rocaite, we've got the zinc, the silver. It's a polymetallic deposit, so we have a number of metals. So the idea is to build a polymetallic story that also accounts for volatility in metal pricing. Obviously, now is a very good time to be in copper and gold; those are our primary metals. But silver as well. We're big fans of silver, and we have that in substantial quantities at Leon. So we're very positive about the portfolio we built. I think now the acquisitions we've made, we should consolidate them, and we should actually now turn to drilling, which is what we're already doing, but to drilling the other projects as well in the shortest time frame possible. In fact, on Pereira Velo, we're currently in talks with some of the historical management, with some of the people who discovered the Pereira Velo project 10 or so years ago. And there'll be potentially some news on that front in terms of appointing certain key technical figures who know these projects, because again, it's not just a question of taking advantage of the historic work, it's also a question of getting the right people to develop those projects. So we have a good in-house team, but we also want to make sure that we have all the historical knowledge associated with all these projects we're acquiring.
Okay, my last question, and I'll hand it back to Graeme. From the point of your relationship now with Appian and Pereira Velo, how did that come about, for one? And for two, how do you see that progressing as time goes by? I know I'm probably going to meet you down in Cape Town at Indaba, because there's already been an invitation, and you guys are going to be presenting down there. So tell me about Appian and how you see that progressing.
So I really like Appian because they're very open about their history, and they're quite a young fund. If you circle back just maybe 5-10 years, maybe less than 10 years, 5 years, I would say is reasonable. You'll see that they were a much smaller fund, and they've recently released a documentary about their history and how they came to be what they are today. And they all had very humble origins. It all started in a sort of very small office, and then it sort of exponentially grew to where it is today. So the model they have is a model we share, and that is acquiring projects which, for whatever reason, haven't been taken to their full, haven't had that value maximization, that realization of value performed. And they have a number of interests across the world, and they've done very well. So that is their model, and we share it. How do we come in contact with them? Well, through some mutual connections. They also they wanted to find a junior company to develop this project. It's a project they believe in very much, but is currently too small for them, because one of the problems when you become a 5 billion plus fund, one of the problems you have is that certain opportunities, despite being good opportunities or very good opportunities, are simply too small, and you don't have the time or the bandwidth to take them forward. So that this was the case. They wanted a quality junior company. They don't really invest in, as far as I know, that there's no other junior company that they have positions in. So we introduced. They liked the model we have. They liked the strategy that we is remarkably similar to theirs, albeit on a much smaller scale. And so we negotiated for some time. As you can imagine, they're very tough negotiators, and so are we. So we eventually got to a deal which was fair and was a win-win for both parties. And so the idea is now that we have a milestone-based acquisition structure whereby the first logical milestone is 350,000 ounces. So we're currently at 110 in-house, an Appian in-house estimate of 110,000 ounces. We want to get to 350 by delineating a mineral resource estimate in compliance with JORC. That will unlock a payment of $1.5 million payable in shares, which again shows the confidence they have in continuing to be our shareholders down the line. And then there's an NSR, which is if we achieve what we think this project can achieve is pretty negligible. So the story with Appian is not just this, is not confined just to this project, albeit for now it is. But the idea is, and they in the RNS we put out, there was a comment from them where they share the reasons why they invested in us. And there's a very clear endorsement of our strategy. So my guess and my wish and what we discussed with Appian is that if we succeed in this first project, then there'll be many other opportunities that they'll introduce. They come across a great number of other projects. And so this will be just the first of many, we hope. And perhaps as we grow as a company, they may become even more significant shareholders. We'll see. The future is still to be written, but we'll do our best to reward the trust they've shown in us.
Yeah, if that project does well, then they're going to become a significant shareholder anyway, with 1.5 million of shares anyway. Obviously, depending on the share price at that point, that will make a big difference. That's $1.5 million or pounds?
Dollars. It's $1.
No, that's Appian. When I saw the name Appian against one of your RNSs, I was thinking, I've heard of that name. Where is it? And I realised, and it was only today when I realised it was Dominic Rubb, our former
he's there.
Is the head of global affairs at Appian. But I believe Appian is a private company. It's not a listed company. Is that correct?
No, it's not listed. It's no, it's not. It's not listed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations on getting such a prestigious company to take a stake in you and be very supportive. That's excellent. Just going back to the Eureka projects and your other projects in the north of Argentina, I just wanted to ask you about the altitude, because I know you've got the drilling company, and that's great because they're in Salta. There's also high altitude, so you're in the same block, so to speak, and you're the same altitude. But when it comes to production, let's say you go all the way to production, you don't sell it, you don't join it, you go into full production. Getting all the machinery and the infrastructure, how easy is it to do at 4,500 meters or feet? Is it feet or meters? Sorry, must be feet.
Meters.
Meters, yeah. How easy is that to do?
So the answer is it is a daunting altitude. And when I first looked at it, I was quite shocked. When I first before visiting the project, I was surprised. I don't think I've ever been at that altitude before. But the reality is very different. So on paper it looks that way, but in reality it's very different. Firstly, the human body, without wishing to go into biology, but the human body becomes accustomed to that oxygen level once you're there for a certain amount of time. So you can perfectly function at that altitude without any kind of health implications or kind of limitations. So the people this is a populated area. There's communities that live nearby. That there is no shortage of people working and operating. So the straight answer to your question is the roads are very good. It's very nice paved national highways leading up to the project, and then there's a final stretch of gravel road, which again is surprisingly very well maintained. So getting equipment there, even getting the drill rig recently to site was straightforward. There was no problem, and it's currently drilling as per our announcement this morning. So no problem. This area is populated. We will look to employ as many people as possible from the local communities. That's one of the big requests of the local authorities. Is this project hasn't been developed for so long, which has always been on our minds, and we were looking for someone like AJAX to come along and get things moving because we believe in the project. This is what the authorities said to us, so they're very happy to see us doing something finally. And the idea will be to then, if we take this project to production, which is our hope and goal, then we will build a plant, and we will employ local people and function as normal. So there's no impact. The altitude is, and I'd be very happy to invite both of you to visit our project in the near future later this year, and you'll see it at first hand. You'll see that firstly, it's a very beautiful part of the world, and it's an exceptionally beautiful part of the world. It's quite interesting. It's very close to the border with Bolivia, and so you actually get a nice text message on your phone saying "Welcome to Bolivia," despite still being in Argentina. So you can perhaps take advantage of some Bolivian phone tariffs at our project. It's in terms of logistics, I see no problems.
What about the politics? We know that the politics has shifted to the right and to free capital markets in Argentina since the election of Milei. But I know from past experience of investments in mining projects in Argentina, they're often, the emphasis is on the province, the governance at the province rather than at the state level. Is that still the same? Is it still like you?
100%. So Argentina is a country I always liked, and it had previously kind of worked on in some way, but I would not have definitely not AJAX would not have acquired this project if Milei hadn't been elected, because his arrival he's a sort of Margaret Thatcher of Argentina. So he's doing what was previously unthinkable. He's just strengthened his hold of his control on Parliament by way of the recent midterm election. And in Argentina, it all depends on which province it's a federal republic, so it all depends on which province you're in. So it may be, despite the federal government being very good, if you're in a province which is not mining friendly or has a disappointing kind of setup, then your experience will be determined by that. We have the good fortune of being in a province which is one of probably the best province for mining in Argentina, with a very, very supportive government and a very business friendly, can-do environment. So we chose this province specifically. It was, again, fortuitous that Bezant happened to have invested in this project, because we are firstly looking at the project and its geology, but then all the other considerations, such as how easy will it be to take this project to production from a permitting point of view, or from a kind of will the authorities support us, or will they seek to make our lives as difficult as possible? That is, as you know from many other companies that have good projects but perhaps can't take them forward because of other above ground problems. That was certainly something we considered as in our DD of the project. So we were very relieved to find that this province is very supportive. I had the fortune of meeting with the governor, who received me in his in the central government building of San Salvador de Jujuy, and I outlined what we wanted to do, and he said, welcome to the province, and may you succeed. So a great welcoming, and we're very thankful to them for the support they've given us, and we look forward to repaying the trust they've shown to us in allowing us to establish ourselves fairly quickly.
And being even though you've clearly got an Italian background, being Brit with your A1 accent, shall we say, does that do you have any reservations that being a Brit in Argentina, is there any sort of historical reservations from any of the governors that you meet?
Now, I also thought that, I'm Italian by origin, as you highlighted, so that really helps, because 2/3, I would say, of Argentines are of Italian descent. So that really helps, because I feel I speak Spanish fluently to an increasingly better degree, because it was rather rusty. But now I would say I'm basically 100% fluent, and so speaking, I think aesthetically, I also look, not that you can really judge nationality by aesthetics, but I look fairly kind of Argentine, I think. So I've been able to assimilate very well into the local culture and environment, and speaking the language also helps very much. So No, I see no impediment to UK companies operating in Argentina. I think it's a very receptive environment. I think they're very pro-West. President Milei is very much explicitly pro-Western. In fact, he's very anti other parts of the world. So I think being an Anglo-Saxon company has no problems at all.
Okay, my next question is to Kevin. I just want to ask you a question, Kevin. This is not to Ippolito. You came
Yes,
up
go
with
for it.
a valuation of $13 billion under the ground.
$1 billion of in-ground.
I would like to ask
Yeah.
you how you arrived at that figure, because I'm very curious.
Okay, well, a summation of the in-ground copper and gold at Eureka, the silver, zinc, and lead at the copper and silver at Leon, the gold at Pierre Velo, the lead, zinc, and silver at Rakata. Badly pronounced, so I apologize. But basically, all of those $1 billion in ground valuation. Now, my question to you, Ippolito, and I think it's the last question that we have: why, as a young on the UK market, 31 years old, should we trust achieve what you need to achieve in this situation?
So the age point is interesting. I think the age really means, I mean, I've been working in the London market for basically 10 years now, so I've seen it all. I've seen all the disasters and also some of the success stories. So the reason I set up AJAX is that I learned a great deal in these 10 years, and I saw many companies get it wrong, and I explicitly wanted to get it right. Of course, I won't always get it right. I'm only human, so we will make some mistakes, but we hope to minimize those mistakes to the smallest degree, because I am the largest shareholder in the company and the founder of it. So for me, this isn't a job of, drawing salary and then moving on to another company a couple of years down the line. I want to take this company to 100 million and above. I use Amarok and as a reference. I really like Amarok. I've had the opportunity to meet their founder and their management team. So I think that their success story is exceptional. That has an equally young CEO at the helm who's done formidably well. So 31 is a young age, but if you're not going to make it at 31, when are you going to make it? At 51? I mean, I think you can make it at any age, of course, but I think there's no reason why someone who's young and dynamic can't succeed. In fact, if anything, I'll have a greater hunger to make it than perhaps someone who is older than me. So the idea is to make this as much a success as possible, to take a balanced approach, because young people do sometimes make rash mistakes or get things wrong. They get too excited. I've been able to see a few mistakes in my time, so I've learned from those, and so we can do very well, and this is a board-driven company, and I think we've been quite lucky as well in the countries we've chosen and the timing of all these acquisitions, because the metal pricing environment gives us plenty of wind in our sails.
Yeah, I mean, that was a devil's advocate question, because after I met you, I made a significant investment in AJAX myself because of you. The projects are good, and the projects, I think, will achieve hopefully what is required. But you are the reason why I've invested. So good luck. I hope it all continues, and Eureka achieves the drilling results that it required. And yeah, I think the Appian connection and the mine there at Prevelo, badly pronounced again, is a huge opportunity. I mean, huge. 350,000 ounce gold, even with a high payout, if you like, in terms of how much it costs to get out, which I actually believe will probably be quite low. You're going to have margins of $1,000 to $2,000 per ounce on that. That'll be worth hundreds of millions, I'm sure of it. So yeah, good luck. Anything else, Graeme?
Well, the only thing is your famous two questions that you haven't asked, Kevin. That's the only thing I would ask you to ask.
Ippolito, so the first question is, what is your favorite food in the world? If you had to have like the takeaway of your life or a meal of your life, what would it be?
Wasn't expecting this question. Quite a remarkable question for a Monday morning. I probably I would. This is what a very tough one. I'm a very boring person when it comes to food, so I'm going to say something exceptionally boring, which is spaghetti pomodoro. That is, I think I'm a very plain vanilla man, and so that is being, very loyal to my origins. I think that is probably, if I had I think you could phrase this question as if you're on death row, what would be your last meal? I think that would be, it'd be definitely spaghetti pomodoro. That would be my final, my final wish.
We should rephrase the question.
I love spaghetti with my kid loves spaghetti with red sauce. It's what we love.
Yeah, well, I like spaghetti pomodoro as well, so I'm with you on that. Well, the final question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and what's the best piece of advice you think you've ever given someone else?
Equally very different, but equally challenging, because you do get a lot of guidance on the way. Some of it is solicited, and most of the time it's unsolicited, which can be both good and bad. I think the best advice I received in life, which may not have a business application, but is a general rule of thumb that I've learned, especially being on the younger side, I think is important, is never to do anything in either anger or in the immediate excitement. To always be have a sort of a Montgomery-esque approach to business and to life. So to always be very measured in the things you do and say, and maybe before making a decision, go on a 10, 15, even half an hour walk, and just reason it through before being impetuous with your decisions. So that's something that I've learned in my life, and I think it's a valuable lesson. In terms of advice that I think the second part of the question was the advice I would give. I'm still perhaps too young to give advice, but my advice would be to believe in yourself. That's something that I've always learned in all the things that I've done. I think there's a lot of people who don't believe in themselves, and I think one of the saddest things in life is unrealized potential. You see that, in sports, you see it in all manner, in all fields of life. You see people who, even when you're at school, perhaps you look at some people and you say those people are really going to do well, and then 20 years down the line, you're exceptionally surprised to find out that those people have done very, very little, or they've underwhelmed the expectations that you had for them. So I think there's a lot of cases of unrealized potential, and that many times that boils down to not believing in yourself. So that is the advice I would give. Believe in yourself, and you can't go wrong. And if you do go wrong, try again.
Very good. All right. Well, on that note, Ippolito Castaneda, thank you so much for coming on Monday Upbeat Markets.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, that was a fantastic interview with Ippolito, I thought. Kevin, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, as I said on the interview, I've become a pretty sizable shareholder, and I have nothing but good things to think about it. And as I said on the interview, I invested because of Ippolito. The assets and the things he's got are great, but to get a British guy who's fluent in Spanish in those areas is a coup. It's a fantastic opportunity, and he's also very smart. He's very driven and very smart, and he's had 10 years of experience in the markets with Zenith and with his dad. And I don't see that it's not going to be a success. He wants to prove himself. He wants to become wealthy from it, and I'm pretty sure he's going to. And he's hopefully going to make us all wealthy at the same time. So, yeah.
Well, the fact that they also persuaded Appian not only to sell the asset to them, but also to actually participate in the fundraise is a big credit. And I mean, as I said, Appian I never heard of until Dominic Raab became, one of the partners there.
Yeah. Well, you've got Appian, and you've got, as I think I briefly mentioned it, but I've been invited to sort of a short list of people who are going to a thing at Indaba in Cape Town, and effectively, ACAM are going to be there, and also Appi, how do you pronounce it again? UCAM, Appian. Are going to be there, are going to be present. There's going to be X number of companies presenting. I think there's about 10 companies, of which I'm involved with at least 4 or 5 of them already. So, there's a select group of these companies that the bigger boys will want to get involved with. And when they get involved with them, then that's going to work. I mean, I look at Ippolito and I compare him very much like Oliver Friesen at GMET. Oliver's more geologically based than Ippolito, but the fact of the matter is, Ippolito knows what he's talking about, and is very, very smart business-wise, I think. So I think got a fantastic opportunity to be worth, as he said, 100 million, but I think he's probably doing himself an injustice, because I think it could be worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's opportunities abound. We've had a new world order in swift effect since the beginning of the year. We've got Venezuela now coming to the fore, and it looks like there's going to be regime change, I would have thought, in Iran. So there could be some interesting opportunities in those countries. Kevin, don't you think?
I don't think it's all going to happen as quick as everybody thinks, but at the same time, I was listening to Tucker Carlson in the US, and he was basically saying that we've now moved from the United States of America as a republic to now the United States of America as an empire. Okay? They have now decided that whatever is right for the US is what they're going to do. They've gone in and taken the Yemen from Venezuela. Why? Because it's in the US's interest only. Iran probably is in their interest, mainly to mess up the Russians and the Chinese than anything else. But I think it's such a web of situations that it's very hard to even grasp what it's really all about when it all comes down to it. But the one thing that I said at the start of this podcast that you can guarantee, in my view, is that the US dollar will be deflated over the next 10 years. And maybe it won't even take 10 years because the market is moving much faster than it ever used to. That will mean that the precious metals, the base metals, are going to go up significantly in value. It's as simple as that. We're going to have lower interest rates. We're going to have pumping more money into the economies across the world. It's not just going to be the US dollar that goes down in value. It's going to be probably all fiat currencies, because none of them are backed by anything, except for, and if you see it, the yuan is rising in strength. So in other words, the Chinese currency is going up. Why? Because it's having lots of inflows of money coming in from the BRICS nations, who are now basically starting to trade in yuan. So 53% of the world's people, and probably close to 45% of the world's economies, are now in the BRICS nations. If you saw some of the lists, there's like 10 BRICS nations. Saudi Arabia wants to go in there, but it doesn't want to upset the Americans. And then a whole list of other countries that want to join the BRICS. So we are going to have this polarization of the world, without doubt. And there's going to be a fight between currencies for a while. But the US is not going to win that. I don't believe it's going to win it. So we're going to be pricing things. And one of the other podcasts I was listening to over Christmas was that you need to be pricing things in gold, not in US dollars. So if we price things in gold right now, you can buy a house in the US or even in the UK for cheaper than you could 25 years ago in gold. So
Gold,
in
of course.
gold,
Yeah.
okay? So everything is becoming cheaper if you value it in gold. And this is one of the things Elon Musk has even been talking about as well, is that everything is going to become much cheaper in the world, but only if you value it in gold, not if you value it in US dollars.
So if you hold all your money in the bank, then you're going to be missing out.
Yeah.
In theory.
Well, if in theory Trump wants to grow and has stated that he wants to grow the GDP of the US by 20%, okay? But the problem with that is that 3% of that will be actual physical growth and 17% of that will be deflation of the dollar because everything's just going up in price. So if that is the case and you hold fiat currency, you are effectively losing 14% of your money every year, like the growth minus the 17%.
But do you think that's a deliberate ploy because they want to inflate their way out of debt?
It's an essential ploy. This is the 1970s all over again. This is what happened. After they came off the gold standard, they had to do the same thing. So it's not something that hasn't happened. And the other thing is that what most people don't realize is that every fiat currency that has ever existed in the world has gone to zero, has had no value. Every one that's ever existed in the world. So in the end, all fiat currencies, unless they're backed by something, and that something has always been gold or silver, goes to zero.
Well, fiat currencies, we had the barter system, right? And then we went on to sort of actual currencies.
Which was always metal. A currency was always a metal.
What, you mean like coins?
Yes,
Things like that?
Yes, the coins were metal. Yeah. I mean, why is an 1899 silver dollar silver? It's 90% silver. Why? It had its value because of the silver. The same with the gold coins. Why in the Roman times did they have a gold coin and then you used to snip a piece off it to say, I'm paying for this? That's what you used to do in the Roman Empire. So the question is, do we want to hold fiat in any way, shape, or form, or do you want to hold solid assets? Like, do you want to hold silver? Do you want to hold gold? Do you want to hold platinum? Do you want to hold a house? Do you want to hold, land? Why is what's his name, who was from Microsoft, Bill Gates? Why is Bill Gates now the largest farm landowner in the United States? Why?
Because it's a solid asset.
Because it's a solid asset. And he knows that eventually the US dollar is going to zero. Unless they decide they're going to back it by something. And that's why the yuan, in my view, in the next 20 to 30 years will be the currency of the world. Because they will back it by gold.
I don't know. I think there's something about the American psyche and their hubris that they will, at some stage, it's almost like managed decline. They're deliberately allowing the dollar to decline, but at some stage, their pride will come into effect. And I wouldn't be surprised, maybe in 5-10 years' time, that will reverse. But let's see.
No, I can see that happening. I can see exactly what you've said happening. They have to let it decline. It declines. They then get themselves out of the debt to a larger degree, and then subsequently they're in a better position. But this is exactly what happened in Japan 30 odd years ago, and it's taken 30 years for that to unravel in Japan. And now Japan is coming out of that. You've seen interest rates going up in Japan. Japan is now able to pull its head above the precipice, and that trade unraveling is also affecting the US dollar. But anyway, we're getting into a whole minefield of stuff here.
Okay, before we wrap it up, anything catching your eyes?
I mean, again, I'll just reiterate some of the other things that I've talked about. All the asset-based companies. We've got Jubilee Metals is up very nicely today. It's gone over 4p. So when we recommended that one, it was under 3p. We've got Greatland Gold going up to nearly £6 now. You've got your Upland Resources is up. You've got Extract, which I think is a phenomenal buy. You've got Guardian Metal, which we've talked about in the next month or two, is going to go on to the New York Stock Exchange. You've got Energy Pathways, which I perceive is going to have a hell of a good quarter in this quarter. You've got Bazant, who's going to be producing gold, silver, copper is the main one, obviously coming out of the ground in the next while. You've got, any number. I mean, I could name 10 of them. You've got ASTR Resources, which is going to have copper and gold involved in it. You've got African Pioneer in Namibia. I mean, name them all, okay? Because based on this metal cycle, these are all materially undervalued. Like, unbelievable how undervalued they are. And then you've got the Greenland play as well. You've got Greenrock, you've got Amarok, you've got Alba, who owns a proportion of Greenrock. So you've got so many things that it's hard to grasp. We're gonna wrap it up because we don't want to keep on going on. But football, we've had Manchester United lose their manager, out the FA Cup. As a Liverpool fan, I'm not smiling. Liverpool, not really very good over Christmas. Got stuffed by Arsenal as well. So, yeah, there you go. We'll do more on that next week, maybe.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget, if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe, and we wish you a very good week. And remember, mum's the word.
This podcast was brought to you by Monday Upbeat Markets. If you would like to appear on a future episode of the Mums Podcast, please email mondayupbeatmarkets@gmail.com.